Building your own house is a bit like going on a big adventure, starting an exciting new chapter in your life. But what's truly exciting about this week's project is that the person who wants to go on that big adventure is a 78-year-old woman.
I'm not thinking I'm going to live here forever.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking it's something to leave behind.
And the house she wants to build is radically different from anything you'd expect to find on this very traditional coastline.
Wow, what have I done?
It's going to be round.
If it turns out fine, that's great. But if it doesn't, I should probably feel guilty for the rest of my life.
The South Devon coast isn't famous for cutting-edge architecture. Its rolling hills and sandy beaches are typically dotted with picture postcard Georgian seafronts. However, Pat Becker is about to change all that. For the last 20 years, Pat's been living in this large 18th century house. But now that she's widowed and her children have left, it's far too big for her. So Pat's decided to sell and build herself a new contemporary home. But she's not going far. You love this place so much that you've decided to build in your own garden.
I've thought about it for 10 years since my husband died. I suppose really it's the last place Wilf and I were together, and I'm in the position to be able to go and stay near, and it's lovely.
What's your design? I mean, have you got an architect involved?
Yes, I have. I tried 2 or 3 plans of how it was going to be.
Yes.
And then Peter Hall came and we walked down the garden and saw this lovely wall, which I adore, the curved wall that's there. It's nearly coming down. So he said I could incorporate that. And he talked to me and I could just see he got the feel of it, that I didn't want to intrude on this house.
But I mean, there you are, you're living in a very conventional Devonian, seaside house, and you're going to build something entirely contemporary and curved. So how are you going to fit into that? How are you going to fit all your furniture into that?
I don't know, but I will. It'll be great, and there will be parts of it that are straight. I can put my bed on. It's just because I want it to be nestled in there so that it won't destroy the view from here. It won't spoil the lovely house, which has been nothing but a haven for my family for years.
Pat cares deeply about her old home and doesn't want the new house at the end of the garden to compromise it. So it's been designed as part of the garden. Its curves are taken from the existing garden walls. It'll appear to corkscrew out of the ground, and it'll be rendered in the colours of the rich red and pink Devon soils. Its sculptural natural form will be capped with a striking 10-metre tower that'll loom like a great sail. Pat's only concession to getting older is that the entrance and main living area should be self-contained on the first floor, so she won't have to run up and down stairs. From this floor, she'll be able to continue enjoying the garden and the house's setting. Her own bedroom will have a private balcony and large windows to connect her to the wonderful view of the sea from here. Next door, the main living room will also be generously glazed with double-height windows. It'll be a large curving space that leads to a conservatory and a second balcony. The tower will contain a commissioned spiral staircase that'll be self-supporting with no central pillar, so it should appear to float unattached to the surrounding building. It's important for Pat that this house is still a family home, so there'll be 3 more bedrooms and 2 bathrooms on the ground floor, more than enough room for when her children come to visit. This is a bungalow with a difference, a retirement home that should prove easy to look after, inspiring and energising. So to construct this extraordinary shaped building, how much is that going to cost?
Well, I've got a figure in mind, and I gave it to the architect, and it was about 200,000. Of course, I have the plots anyway. That's what I'm hoping it's going to cost. That's what I'm allowing for.
Fine. And no more?
And no more, or else, be trouble.
So, how are you funding this?
I'm going to sell the house, so I'm having a bridging loan with the bank.
Simple as
Hope.
that.
It terrifies me. I'd really rather not think about it.
It's now May, and the builders are starting on the concrete foundations. With a bridging loan, Pat's debts will be racking up every day. So to keep her costs down, the team have set themselves a schedule of just 26 weeks. They're confident they can finish the house in such a short time because of the material they're using.
Pat's house is going to get built out of block work. Not concrete blocks, but polystyrene blocks like this that clip together like some giant children's construction toy. As you can see, they're hollow, and that's because what gets poured into the middle of them is wet concrete to reinforce them. When the concrete sets like this, it ends up about 4 times stronger than your average concrete block. Add to that the fact that the polystyrene blocks remain as insulation around the wall, and you end up with a structure which is something like 1.5 times as insulative as a conventionally built wall. This walling system is super insulated and it's super performing. This is super Lego.
This stuff is actually called Becker, and the attraction for Pat's builders is that, in theory at least, it can be put up in a quarter of the time of conventional bricks and mortar. It's also really light and easy to shift around the site. They can even make sections off-site and then carry them on. But the greatest advantage for this build is that it should make the curves much easier to construct, and that's really why Pat architect Peter Hall has chosen it.
One wouldn't probably go for a curve building if you're using traditional build. But with Beco, we can go for curves because we can say, will you please make us a radius of 1.8 metres or 5.5 metres or whatever. There are 8 different radiuses on this site.
Well, and they're all, as it were, specially made for this project.
Yes.
So you'd be able to say, I want a run of 12 metres long at a radius of 6 metres or something like that, and they'll do it for you as a special.
Yeah.
Knock him out.
Yeah, see, it's very, very, well, you can see how
It's
flexible
very,
it is.
very quick.
You can see
and
how
very
flexible it is. I mean, for instance, the junctions and joints. When you lock a joint like that together, it will lock together as Lego in a way.
Yeah.
But when it comes to the other joints, we're actually just going to cut it like timber.
So when do you expect to get all these walls up? Because it's a fast system, isn't it?
It is a fast system. Where the programme is that we would like to get the roof or get to roof plate by the end of May. And be putting the...
Hey, that's 4 weeks away.
Yeah, it's 4 weeks away.
Peter has unwavering faith in this system because he's used it before, but he's never used Beco to build a curved house. This is an experiment for all of them. For Pat, this new home is a major turning point in her life, and with the first course of blocks down, she and I get to see her alien construction for the first time.
You like to come down occasionally and look at the site, do you?
My God, yes, I do.
What all the,
Wow. What does it look like? I'm not sure.
It looks like a space
An
station to me.
archaeological dig
I
or
suppose
something.
it could be in polystyrene.
Gosh, it is round, isn't it?
Yeah, yes, it is a roundhouse, yes.
Yeah.
Is it what you were
It's-
expecting?
Well, of course I was, but, you know, it's very hard to visualise it. I'm worried, feel worried. Don't know whether I've done the right thing.
So what don't you like about it?
Well, it does look rather horrid at the moment because it's polystyrene at the bottom of my garden. It's just different and a bit, you know, cry out
shock.
loud, what have I done?
Down on the South Devon coast, Pat Becker's extraordinary polystyrene house is taking shape in the garden of her old family home.
Come into my bedroom. Ooh.
Pat's daughter, Helen, and son-in-law, Jay, have come to see how Pat's taking to the changes.
I was never very good with my imagination. It's working. It's all right.
You have a round house. That
I have a
sounds
round
good
house.
with your imagination.
The idea of a house made out of plastic packaging is something Pat still finds novel.
Have to
Huff
do.
and a puff and you blew your house down. It makes you feel like that, doesn't it?
It's now well into May, and so far the build is on schedule. The ground floor blocks have been assembled, but the structure is weak and won't be solid until it's filled with concrete. To speed up the process, a special long-arm concrete pump has arrived. It should do the job in a matter of hours. But the pump can only do so much.
Is that it, Dave?
Not all the walls are that straightforward. The problems start when the builders get to the curves. A lot of these walls need reinforcing with steel bars, and that takes much longer. Each polystyrene block has to be awkwardly threaded over them and jostled into position. Then the builders face the laborious job of filling these sections by hand, because the bars get in the way of the pump. A month later, and the walls still aren't finished. In fact, after battling with the curves and the reinforcements, the builders have barely completed the ground floor. It's a worry for project manager Peter Harris.
Peter, I thought you'd have got up to, well, just below roof level by now, wouldn't you? I mean,
We've got a programme of another couple of weeks to get up to roof level.
So what's slowed you down then?
With the design of the property, it's complicated, and what I don't want to do is rush and move ahead too quickly and make mistakes. And we've taken our time where we think we need to. The actual next course on, the next layer of Beco will go up very quickly.
Peter's optimism doesn't last long. As well as being difficult to reinforce, there's a structural headache with the curved walls. They're difficult to join.
You know, putting together a straightforward rectangular building with the system is easy as pie. Look, you take a wall and you build another wall next to it and you fill it with concrete and it's done. I mean, even I could do that. But here, the problems come because they're trying to get straight walls to fix against curved walls and curved walls against other curved walls. That is what is causing the nightmare on this project. It's causing all the delays.
Every curved joint has to be handmade. The blocks have to be shaped and cut so that the concrete can flow through the joint, which also then needs to be reinforced with steel. Finally, any gaps need to be mended with expandable foam. All this unforeseen work is laborious, fiddly and time-consuming, and it's slowing the project down. But it is the price to pay for such a weird experimental design, one that I think Pat has yet to fully engage with.
How do you feel about your building?
I think it's...
Do you think it looks like a big white plastic swimming pool stuck at the end of the
No,
garden?
I mean, it's so different to anything I ever visualised. And it is quite frightening living near it, looking out the window every day.
So what's this room in here then, Pat? This one?
This is going to be the bathrooms.
Oh, there are two bathrooms in here?
Well, there's an ensuite
Yeah.
that I'm not sure about how big it's going to be.
Yeah.
And then this one with a glass window.
Next to your wonderful staircase. It's
Yeah.
great helical staircase.
Well, I've seen a picture of it and I'm very impressed.
Are there any aspects of the build that concern you about how it's going to look when it's finished?
I just want it to look like I expect it to look. And that's that it will not stand out too boldly from that house, Nest Cottage, because that was the whole idea, that it should go into the background and it's going to be the right colour and the roof's going to be a nice shape.
But it strikes me that when you talk about what matters here, a lot of it's to do with how it will look from the other house, where of course you won't be. You'll be living within this building.
I know, Kevin, but I can't help it. I'm trying hard not to. But that's why I was building it originally. I thought, if anyone's going to build it, I am, so it won't spoil our lovely house. Because, you know, at the back of my mind, I have this sort of guilt feeling about building it. And I feel like I'm a trustee, so I shouldn't really have built it at all. And if it turns out fine, that's great. But if it doesn't, I should probably feel guilty for the rest of my life. I don't know. Anyway, there we are.
When I first met Pat and talked to her about this project, I sort of felt that given her age and the number of years she's lived in that house, she'd have a real problem letting go of it. But now I realise that she actually sees herself more as a custodian of that house, and that the real problem she has is guilt. She feels guilty about building in its garden, and the only way she can get rid of that guilt
is for this house to be really exemplary. It has to atone for their guilt. Given Pat's complicated feelings about this project, her architect, Peter, is under a lot of pressure to deliver not just an eccentric building, but a fabulous one. And he has a trick up his sleeve, the spiralling staircase tower that corkscrews 10 metres up into the air. It might just win Pat's heart. But the team has hit a problem putting it up. Unexpectedly, the staircase tower also needs reinforcing. After their experience with the curved walls, the builders know it's not going to be easy.
Normally, as soon as you're out of the ground, you wouldn't be going into reinforcement anymore. But because the tower is acting like a huge sail, we have to reinforce it. And the engineer proposed that we had big leading edge steels in it and laces of steel around it. But to actually put that in, we could see being a major problem. We decided to look for an alternative.
Peter has discovered an alternative in Germany, but these look like giant office staples. The advantage of these is that you can mix them in a concrete mixer. You can also pump them through a concrete pump, and they save an enormous amount of time. The only problem with them is that they don't have any kind of UK approval, which means Peter's going to have to persuade his authority to let him use them. And that's going to take some time. So, because they have to wait for approval from their local building control office before they can use the steel fibre concrete mix, all work stops. All they can do is build the garden wall. It's now the middle of July, and they're about 6 weeks behind. It's a frustrating time for Pat. The delay is bound to have an impact on the budget and on the cost of her bridging loan. It costs her more in interest.
What is worrying me is I'd like it to be finished on time because I've got to sell this house, and I can't sell this house till that's looking okay. And that's big for me. That's one of my big worries.
2 weeks later, at the end of July, the builders finally get permission to use the steel fibres as reinforcement in the concrete. At last, they can tackle the pinnacle of this build, the staircase tower. The polystyrene blocks are all in place, but without concrete inside them, they're very unstable, which is an enormous concern because this tower has to be millimetre perfect. Otherwise, the bespoke staircase being made for it won't fit. The steel fibres are added at the plant and the mix delivered to site. This is a brand new concrete method, unproven in Britain, and never tried on a wall this high and this curved.
I'm excited, and I think at this moment this is what I'm born to do, to be honest with you, because it's the first time this has ever been done before. Nobody's ever filled Becker in this sort of shape before, to this sort of height either. So I'm nervous, I suppose, and excited, and just want to get on with it now. You should just turn a bit.
Peter should be nervous. He's inexplicably decided to fill the tower in one go, rather than in layers. Much quicker perhaps, but far riskier. I think it's madness.
The worst scenario is it could blow everywhere. It's well shuttered and propped everywhere. It's just basically fingers crossed that everything's going to go sweet as a nut.
The huge concrete pump has returned to unfurl like a giant, sinister, praying mantis.
Hang on, keep him there.
But what preys on everyone's mind is that the tons of wet concrete could easily distort the polystyrene formwork. And if the polystyrene were to give way, the whole tower could collapse.
It's enough. Up.
Pat and son-in-law Jay can only watch helplessly from a safe distance.
I bet they'll be glad when they do an ordinary house. Finish with this one.
It's all going well.
Whoa. Small one there.
Until Peter's worst nightmare. A breakout. Some of the polystyrene blocks have given way under the growing pressure of the wet concrete.
All right.
Hurriedly, the builders brace the broken sections with wooden shuttering to stem the flood and stop the tower giving way altogether.
I think that's going to be enough there for a minute. Whoa.
Luckily, the 10-metre wall of wet concrete holds precariously.
We done it, Mike. I was nervous and a bit wary of what was about to happen today, and excited, I must admit. And my feelings is one of relief, to be honest. I'm going to have a cup of tea.
The tower's an engineering success, but Pat still has doubts about its design.
I'm all for, you know, pushing the envelope and, oh yeah, let's make it look really modern and organic, really.
It's supposed to be graceful.
Yeah.
And organic.
But that's the best thing.
It isn't either at the moment, is it?
It seems to me that the design process, which usually continues on a site, has been abandoned here, while Peter and his team struggle with the technical difficulties of getting this building up.
If we'd known about the steel fibres earlier, we could have avoided and probably saved a month on the original build as well, and 20,000 quid's worth of cost. And that's a frustration. But I do expect it. But I'll know for the future with steel fibres. We've learnt.
But that lesson has cost Pat £20,000. They are learning on your job. They're experimenting with this build, and the net effect of that is that there's delays, and that means one way or another it's going to cost you more money.
Yes, it has cost more money, and they have learnt, and they've learnt on my house. But things go wrong. They go wrong all the time. If you're building an ordinary house, they go wrong, don't they? And the whole gang have been great. And I'm sorry to say that. I should really be complaining a lot. But I don't want to, because I don't feel like that.
You don't feel your patience wearing thin
I'm an
at all.
optimistic, I'm a philosopher, and that's how I am. So maybe that's good for them and bad for me, I don't know. Maybe at the end of the day, I mean, it cost about twice as much. I shan't be so philosophical.
Despite all the rethinks and the hold-ups, the architect still believes he can finish the house for £200,000. But have any of the delays or the experimental routes you've gone altered the price? Or have they meant delays which have altered the price?
Yes, I think as far as the tower was concerned, the delay was caused by checking this alternative method of construction. And although there was a delay, the cost at the end of it was cheaper than doing it in the steel reinforcement. So there's an offset one against the other. I don't think there's going to be any major hiccup in the fact that we are running late.
But it is very hard to believe that the build won't cost more. What is clear, though, is that they won't be finished by October. So when do you think Pat's going to be able to move in?
Well, it'd be nice if we could have a Christmas party in there.
Oh, yeah.
I think
That doesn't actually answer the question, Peter, because you can have a Christmas party in there with it.
I'm being political.
Like this.
Yes. No. I would think that we can get with the roof going on within the next 2 or 3 weeks. I would think we'd be finished for habitation by the end of November, certainly before Christmas.
And nearly always, the deadlines in life are events like Christmas.
Depends on which Christmas.
Yeah, I know, Peter.
By the autumn, Pat's polystyrene house still looks like a space station that crash-landed on the Devon coastline. The project is 6 weeks behind schedule, and only now are the first roof trusses being installed. Where I'm standing is where the roof of this building converges. Now, although this steelwork looks complicated, it's relatively elegant, really. There's a spine curving wall there, against which are attached these radiating steel trusses. And they all converge on this one steel column, which is set into the building here, taking all the load. It's a bit like a bicycle wheel, really. There's the rim of the wheel, these are the spokes, and this is the hub. And it's one very strong structure. The strength of the steel allows for long spans and helps keep the roof thickness to a minimum, maintaining an elegant profile to the house. That same engineering economy underwrites the use of steel to make the staircase. It has no central column, and it's been precisely made in one piece to just fit into the tower. Having only seen drawings, Peter wants to check it before it gets to site. He's also brought Pat so that she can approve it.
I mean, it doesn't look quite like I thought it would. It is very cold looking, and it's going to be painted. And if somebody will get me some wood to put on the banister,
That's what it is. Yeah.
that's what I want. And I wondered how much it would cost.
Well, Martin has looked into that, and I think we were talking in the region of about £8,000 just to do the timber handrail.
Well, at £8,000, I could go and have my hip done privately,
Exactly.
couldn't I?
Yeah. Well, you've
Which
got-
I'm not going to do because I can't do it, so...
Well, it's double the price of the staircase.
2 weeks later, the staircase is ready. Now the builders face the logistical challenge of getting it into Pat's house. It won't fit through any of the doors, so it'll have to be lowered into the tower by crane. Because there'll be so little tolerance between it and the tower walls, this is going to be a delicate, tricky operation.
The weather is a bit of a concern, but it's not blowing too badly at the moment, so we're hoping that the wind doesn't get up too much. But when we actually lift the staircase above the top of the tower, obviously if it's swinging about a bit, we're going to have a problem.
The tower is just 10 centimetres wider than the staircase. So to fit, the staircase will have to be lowered exactly on the vertical. And that's, of course, assuming the tower is perfectly straight.
Well, hopefully it'll be off the lorry, across the top, down the hole, and that's it. So we're looking at 15 minutes tops.
Go up as high as you can get it, and then we hold it over the loading area a minute.
Over a ton of steel is hanging precariously over Pat's polystyrene house.
Slowly, 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 slowly.
If it starts to swing, it could smash the tower like a demolition ball.
Whoa, can we just inch it down?
The crane's movements have to be slow and controlled.
If you jump down on the first floor level and grab these ropes, and then guide it for us. He's got to come back to me, like that. You're caught on this wall here.
But the staircase jams at the top of the tower.
Yeah, it's too tight, Tone. There's only one way it's going to slide down, is if it's vertical. Do you know what I mean?
And there are also distortions in the tower wall from the blowouts during the concrete pour.
This is made 100 mil smaller than your cylinder.
Yeah,
If this is vertical, if it's purely, if it's
that's
plumb,
not right. No, you're wrong, because we've got blowouts up there. So when you're coming down, you could actually hit where it's blown. So then you're going to jam up again. We've got to give ourselves some more space.
The steel staircase has been manufactured exactly to size. It's just a shame that Peter hasn't been as precise with the wobbly polystyrene tower walls.
it's correct to the dimensions of the cylinder, but Peter's just told me that the cylinder isn't correct, and it bows out in places. So we were working with a tolerance of 100 mil, but maybe it's going to reduce that to, I don't know, 25 mil, so it's going to be even tighter.
If we take those two back ones off,
Yeah, definitely.
that's given us a bit of tolerance.
You've got to give yourself some tolerance
and we've still got the...
because at least then we can get one arm to miss. You're something by
Yeah.
But with those two on, you're not going to do it.
The builders have no choice but to unbolt the arms. It takes time, and the wind is picking up. And it's still going to be a very tight fit.
Hold it about there a minute. Hold it about there.
As the staircase is lowered again, this time it's the balustrade that won't fit.
It's going to have to just go up a little bit because we're just on the camber here, look.
The only solution is for the steelworkers to deconstruct the railings and grind them off. At every pass, Pat's £6,000 staircase is being hacked to pieces. On the third attempt, 5 hours later, and more than a bit worse for wear, the staircase painfully scrapes into position.
Down. Down. All right here.
So what are we going to do tonight then? Climb Mount Everest?
After such a botched day's work, Pat's eager to inspect the staircase in situ.
No. But I have to say that it did look a bit like a fire escape without its paint and its carpet. But I know what it's going to be like, otherwise I wouldn't have had it made. It'll look very elegant, actually. I don't think it's like a fire escape.
Fire escape or not, installing the staircase proves a turning point for the builders. Downstairs, insulation boards are being laid, followed by plumbing, heating pipes and a final concrete screed. The slimline roof also gets its own slimline space station insulation, made from multi-layered foil.
It's now early November, way past the date when Pat was originally supposed to have been in, and this place is still nowhere near finished. But they are slowly making progress, and they're solving the problems as they go along. And it's now getting to the point where Pat is starting to make some really big decisions about this project, except that 2 weeks ago, she fell over and broke a leg. Pat!
Hello.
Hello, how are you?
Oh, what a gorgeous sight. You and flowers. What could be nicer?
No, it's just from all of us.
How lovely. Yes. Thank you very much. What a super look. Oh, I'm very well.
Well, you're not very well.
I am very well. I'm just
How are
broken.
you feeling? You're not hobbling down to the building in the evening like you used to.
No, but I've already
sneak around.
No, I haven't been out long enough, really. But I will be doing when I'm mended a bit more. I just not particularly interested in it at the moment. I wish it would go away.
No, you can't be serious about that. I mean, you don't want it to. You're really not connected to it at the moment.
No, I don't even want to think about it, to be quite honest.
Pat, having broken a leg must have put you back a bit, hasn't it?
Yes, it has, yeah. It's quite serious at the time. I'm quite worried about her, and it has set us back. We've lost the decision-making process for 2 to 3 weeks, and so it's been a concern.
So you've been able to get on and build your wall, haven't you?
We have.
Which is a triumph. I mean, it's beautifully done.
But we have got on with other things as well.
Have you? What have you been able to do?
We've got the roof's been felt and battened, the insulation's in, and it's cross-battened as well. So we're now in a position where the copper can go on as soon as we get our windows.
Well, how long have they been ordered for? It's been what?
Well, it's been something like about 10 weeks, I imagine now. So, you know, we need them desperately.
How delayed has the window glazing all been? Then?
We're going to be at least 2 weeks behind on the actual, at least 2
Yeah, but
weeks.
then you add that all to the other delays.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, you were supposed to be kind of all done by October.
Well, yeah, well, we could have been all done by October as well. So, yeah, it's been frustrating to say the least. Yeah. I am frustrated.
You've still got to roof, and presumably you can't roof until...
What we're waiting for was Pat's decision on the actual colour, its colour scheme. I need the windows, I need the conservatory, I need the roof, and I want the decision on the colour for the render. Let's go. Let's get on with it.
The builders are totally stuck in the mud until the glass arrives and Pat's decided what colour she wants her house. It's a critical decision. The colour is mixed into the render, so it can't be changed later.
Right.
It's very important, this. Point the colours out again. Awful at the moment.
I think it's that one.
That?
Yes.
And what colour would you then paint the top of the building?
This is the important bit.
And I think we'd be going to...
Really? That's quite peachy, though, isn't it?
Yes.
Because presumably, the colour it's got to go with is something like, by the time the copper roof patinates up, it's going to end up like that, isn't it? Very, very verdigris coloured.
Well, again, it's a colour that changes. When it gets wet, it'll be a darker green, and when it's dry and sunny...
I think I agree about that.
What if we get a sample of that, and a sample of that, and we sample that one? In the material, in the textured material.
I just feel I haven't got much time, Peter.
Oh, you...
I don't know why. Hurry up.
It's mid-December. The coloured render is on order, but importantly, the delayed windows have arrived on site, and this stop-start build lurches forward in gear again. With the windows also comes the odd angular conservatory, and at the same time, the roofers begin fabricating Pat's copper roof. Laying and hand-seaming the sheets of copper around the curved roof demands high levels of craftsmanship. But it's the colour of the copper that I think throws up the biggest challenge.
The colours of this building matter a great deal to Pat. It matters to her that the building disappears into the landscape. This copper roof is a very beautiful addition. It goes perfectly well with the colours that she's chosen for the render of the structure. Within a few years, that copper will also dull down to a beautiful mixture of browns that go equally well with those render colours. However, after several years, 5 or 6, this is what happens. It goes to verdigris.
I don't think that this colour really forms part of Pat's palette. The colours of Pat's render have been chosen to fit with the rusty reds of the surrounding landscape. And Pat's eager to see them in situ.
This gives you a sort of representative idea, doesn't it?
There you are. That's good.
It's good, isn't it?
Yeah.
Can I live with a roof?
Oh,
find
I
out.
don't know whether you can. It'll take a few years yet for it to turn
I might
that colour.
not. Oh no, I might not, might I? I'm going to go and pour yoghurt all over it.
It'll make absolutely no difference.
It will, it'll go green.
You like the green?
I don't know. I've
I
never
mean,
had it.
because I thought you would really go for the brown patination of the cuppa after a few months. You know.
It will be like that.
It
won't
will, but then after a few years, it then starts to go that bright green.
I won't mind it then.
No?
I'm not worrying about it. I'm leaving it to the experts. They're all so good.
The point is
Hopefully.
you're happy about the colours, aren't you?
Yeah, I am. That's very good. Thank you very much for all your hard work.
That was my pleasure.
I didn't think I was going to see the colours this side of Christmas.
Unfortunately, Pat won't see her house in full colour anytime soon. Until the windows and conservatory are finished, they can't get on with the rendering. This build is already 2 months beyond the original deadline, and now, as I suspected, the budget is also slipping.
The actual construction cost will be about 260.
How is Pat about that? Is she relaxed about
Yeah,
it?
she's very relaxed. I think her attitude is, I knew it wouldn't cost what you said it would cost.
So, the build is £60,000 over budget and months behind schedule. And it's not yet watertight, partly because it's taking an age to get the glazing finished. But Pat has, in a way, a bigger problem. I'm not sure it's what she wanted, and neither is she.
I sort of feel a bit unreal at the moment, to be honest. I don't know what I feel. It is a grand design, but it wasn't really meant to be. It just grew. But perhaps it's a bit bigger than I intended, I'm not sure really. I mean, if it wasn't mine, I would be much more sort of, oh, God, isn't it wonderful? But I can't. I've got this little bit of me inside that wonders, you know.
No, it's very usual. In fact, you know, the more unusual the design, I've found the more people feel slightly flummoxed come this kind of stage.
This stage, yeah, this is
because they see the building up.
I can't
They don't
be
own
me
it.
in
They
it
haven't
yet.
taken possession of it. Exactly. You haven't moved in. And on the one hand, you feel, I guess, excited by what you see. On the other hand, slightly in awe of it.
Yeah. Okay. It's my age.
I'm putting words into your mouth now. But no, it's not your age. It's nothing to do with your age. It's to do with how people respond to buildings, I think.
I'll be 80 in 2 years, so I'm not thinking I'm going to live here forever.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking it's something to leave behind. That's really what I'm thinking.
You know, what Pat says and how she seems two different things. She says that this place will be perfect. She sort of gives the impression that she isn't quite sure about it. She has a difficult relationship with this building. It's perhaps a bit too big, and it has this difficult job of working with the existing house and the surrounding neighbourhood, and she almost wants it to disappear. You know, buildings are about people and about place, but people are very complicated. And for Pat, this isn't just a dream home. This isn't even just for her, this house. It's her legacy. Pat's house was meant to take 6 months to build. It's now almost a year since the build has started. The render's been finished, and with the roof and the glazing in place, the house looks virtually complete. But of course it isn't.
Well, we've had I think, a catastrophe really. We found every single window virtually was leaking all round the sills. We've got very expensive render finished, which is all going to be damaged by taking the windows out. We've got plasterboard and plaster and paint inside, which is now all being damaged. It's frightening. I would think it's cost £50,000 just in delay, extra work.
This is an appalling amount of money and an appalling situation. Even the conservatory's leaking. Pat, as ever, is philosophical, but clearly distressed.
I have no contact with this window conservatory firm, who I thought were the best, supposedly. That's why we went to them. That's why Peter got them. Don't they do things for the Queen? She'd be a bit cross by now if her windows were leaking in Westminster Abbey or wherever it was. There's no good me worrying about it, is there? I can't do anything. I could grab a solicitor and take it down there and have a good time suing everybody, but I don't want to do that.
A month later, the windows and conservatory have almost all been replaced and the builders tentatively begin the inside fit again. Financially, Pat can only hope that she can recoup some of her extra costs. Personally, she now faces an even greater loss. That of her old home, as she prepares to move. Everybody said that this build would take 6 months. In the end, it took 15, and Pat only moved in 2 weeks ago. And I wonder what she feels about the place now.
Hi, Kevin.
Hello. How are you?
Fine, thank you.
Good to see you, and good to see you. You're living here. I mean,
Yep.
You're in. I mean, look at this place. This is looking very crisp, you know.
Looks good, doesn't it?
Curvy and pink.
Absolutely.
And the tower from here looks quite magnificent. It looks almost
Yes.
Spanish, you know.
Not bad, yes. So people say.
Right.
I haven't made up my mind yet.
Pat has sold the old house and has at last been able to pay off her bridging loan. Her new life now lies at the bottom of the garden. Can we get in?
Yeah.
Great. Well, this is home now, isn't it?
Yeah.
Look at this. And again, you know, the curves sort of reassert themselves now
Yeah.
the building's finished.
It's smashing, isn't it?
Yeah. And the furniture
Goes very
surprisingly-
well in it, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
I was really worried. I thought, oh
Well,
my God, modern house.
Do you know,
old
you weren't the only
furniture.
one. I thought that
But it looks
the
great.
furniture would sit very uneasily
Yeah,
in
but
this
it
in this
doesn't.
very
It
dynamic
looks as though it's been
building.
here forever, I feel now. I'm really pleased about that.
I hadn't expected to see that cladding up there. That's very dramatic, isn't it? Very.
Perfect,
It looks
as
very
it
good indeed. It's kind of seems absolutely appropriate. Unusual choice, but absolutely appropriate once you see it up there. The windows, they were leaking, weren't they? Because they had the wrong sill detail on
they
them.
were bad. They weren't put in properly.
Are they leaking now?
No, don't think so. Not so far.
What about the conservatory? Because that has been a real bane, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has. I'm still not quite sure whether it's all right because, you know, we just don't know. In fact, I think there was a bit of a leak, so we're not putting the floor down yet.
Really, until you're absolutely sure. It's a pain, isn't it?
It's been worrying.
Yeah, I bet it has. And the thing about this conservatory, you know, Pat, the thing that's always got me about this thing is that the house is full of such glorious curves, you know? And the conservatory is triangular.
Well, we would have liked a round one. In fact, that was the first thing we said. It's got to be round to go with the house. But it would have been too expensive. Anyway, I like it now. As long as it doesn't leak, that's all I want.
Strangely, the best view of this building is one that you're never going to see again, really. And it's the view from that house. It's the one that you deliberately created in order to somehow atone for the guilt of building this thing in the first place.
I don't know whether I've atoned or not. I mean, somebody was going to build here, and if it hadn't been me, it could have been anybody, it could have been anything. I think the architect took my brief and did it. I didn't know how much it was going to cost, really, but I reckon it's worth it now, whatever.
Pat wanted everything she needs to be on the same floor. So upstairs has been designed specifically to accommodate this. So on one level you have all your living area and your ensuite and
Yeah.
your bedroom,
Yep.
all very self-contained on one floor.
Yep.
Yeah?
That's as it was, supposed to be. And,
And a great view out of your bedroom window.
it's wonderful, isn't it?
Of the sea and the town below.
Yeah.
And the distant view of Exmouth.
Yep.
It's terrific. I like this though. I like this staircase. It's I suppose it's because the curbs are so tight here.
Yeah, it's lovely,
It's
isn't
almost
it?
like the centre of the house, you know, from which everything else spins out.
It is, isn't it?
And sad about the handrail, Pat, isn't it, eh?
What?
Well, the fact that they're not timber.
Oh, no, I've got over that little
Yeah?
strop. Yeah, they were too expensive. And anyway, I like this. It's nice, it's light, it makes the whole thing
Well, fair
very
enough.
easy, doesn't it? Oh, look at that.
Yeah, nice shape.
I-
And you
it-
see the wall up above the skylight. That's something else,
It's
isn't
really wonderful, isn't it?
it? Yeah. It really is
Yeah.
like being in Miami or the Mediterranean or something,
Oh,
isn't it?
yeah, that's a thought, isn't it?
So down
Yeah.
here is all the accommodation for the family for when they come
Yeah.
and stay. On the ground floor, there are 3 additional bedrooms and 2 bathrooms. More than enough room for Pat's visiting children. It's an adequately large family house. But this is as much an earthy sculptural statement as it is a home. The epicentre is the tightly corkscrewed staircase tower, from which radiate the much gentler organic arcs of the building's soft pink walls. An equally curvaceous pink wall now divides it from Pat's old place. The house does, on the whole, bed rather well into its setting, but it's no shrinking violet. The well-formed details, other than the weird angular conservatory, shout craftsmanship and quality, and it has such a dynamic shape that it also shouts eccentricity. But all this comes at a price. Pat's original budget was £200,000. I know you half expected it to go up, but do you know how much it's cost in the end? Do you have any idea?
A lot more.
Double?
Joe.
What, 300?
Oh, more than that.
400?
More than that.
Right.
Anyway, that's enough to go on with. I mean, you've proved your point. It's cost a lot more than I intended.
So what do you deduce from that? The architect got it wrong? The pricing wrong? That the builder
I
misjudged
think
how
the
long it would
price
take?
was wrong in the first case. It was underpriced. So
know.
it was a mistake, if you
But
like.
Sure enough, Pat. But the thing is, in this equation, Pete, your architect, is no worse off financially. Your builder seems to be no worse off financially. The person who is much worse off is you.
I'm just not into the blame game. I know I've got a house that's worth the money, and it was very fortunate indeed that I could pay for it. It's just rather sad that it had to be like that, because it's a super building, a wonderful design. It's a great place to be. I know I'm going to be happy here for a time. And I feel we've done something between us. I really do.
But in a way, the biggest hurdle with this project has been the move, hasn't it? From your old house just up the hill, in which you lived for decades, to this place. So have you been able to let go of it and make this place home?
Well, I have let go. Once you've done it, haven't you? It's no use looking back, really. I don't think so. I think I'm just damn lucky.
This place is so quirky. I'm just not sure what to make of it. I mean, there are bits I really like and others I do not. You know, it's certainly round, but with this conservatory here, it's also certainly flawed. But I do know it is only here because of the generosity and adventurousness of one woman. Pat commissioned an exciting, experimental house for future generations of her family to enjoy. In all kinds of ways, it's an extraordinary legacy.